Hello, chat. I hope the sound is great because we have a great guest with us. Um, I don't know, Ivan, can you also read the chat? There's already a lot of highs for you. Can we have a virtual applause, virtual welcome, please, for Ivan, dear chat? So I'm super excited to have Ivan with us today. Yes, virtual clapping. This is always great. There's virtual love, virtual hearts for you. A lot of love for you. Yeah, no, even as a very special guest and a dear friend of the gamedev Graz community. So I'm very happy to see you tonight. The sun is setting. This is such a lovely lighting now. Like right in the middle of this stream. That is just perfect. So Ivan has been working on the Bohemia's Interactive's Arma series since 2006 already, right? And he's known for so many very interesting games and for very important work. So games such as DayZ, which you might know, and has been also not only involved in the game development world, but he's also known for his really interesting work while working at games like Arma to work together with the International Committee of the Red Cross. So this is something which I find really highly interesting. And yeah, I'm super excited that you're here today. Maybe you also want to introduce yourself a little bit from your side and tell us a little bit how you're doing. Good to see you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for a very warm welcome. I'm a bit struggling with hearing myself twice, so I'm figuring out some technical things.
Oh, can you probably mute the Twitch?
So I just tried to mute Twitch, and I hope you still hear me.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
That's great. So I guess you did perfect introduction of myself. So thank you very much for inviting me to your late night talk show. And
Proper university lecture.
well, as close to the late night talk show as I can normally get, I would say. Uh, I would like to say hi to everyone here in chat whom I know in person. It's really nice of you guys that you showed up. Very nice. And I'm ready for questions.
Fantastic. Yeah, so one of my first questions at the moment is always like, how you're doing in the current situation with quarantine work, with working from home, or how is the situation right now in your office? Can you tell us a little bit about this? Because obviously this is something which is so highly interesting right now, and yeah, I would love to hear how you're doing that. How is your studio
Well,
doing that?
pretty much like everyone else who can afford it, we work from home offices.
Mm-hmm.
There are small amount of people who just claim that they have too many children or other distractions that they spend their time in the office, but they were practically as alone as they would be at home. But fortunately, now we are returning back to normal. I've already met a couple of people in the office today. I just visited briefly. And I have to say that thanks to our production people and to project leads and people generally taking care of the opposite side of the game dev spectrum than me, so the organizers and diligent people, thanks to them, we were making games as usual. It's just I personally spend more time at home, so it takes some arrangement, patience, especially with 3 kids we have. But yeah, I'm really happy that nobody got ill.
Yeah.
Everybody did their job as usual, and now we are lucky to be back in the normal business quite soon.
Yeah. No, this sounds very good. So, how are you working at the moment? Like, are you using a lot of video conferencing tools, or how you're organizing your office? What changed?
I don't see that many people in person. On the other hand, as the Bohemia is operating from multiple offices, we were always used to hitting Slack or Skype and arrange a video conference and just talk online. So it's just more online talks, less distractions. I'm actually more productive at home. On the other hand, my role it's just better to meet people in person. So normally I would spend 1 or 2 days away from Brno, away from the office, traveling to the other offices. Right now it's perhaps calmer, but I'm definitely looking forward to see the guys and girls again face to face, and it's definitely more efficient. It's I would say that especially after we cooperated so closely on Arma 3, Prague, Brno, then Amsterdam got involved. We have Pattaya Studio with artists. So we improved over the years. On the other hand, nothing replaces the personal contact. But there's also another level to it. You can just talk to people only about like business things, but then it's just much better if you have friends on the other side of the wire. So I would say that with people who are into the same things, who want the same thing, with whom you're on friendly terms, you just don't really need to care whether it's remote or whether it's face to face.
Yeah.
We are very lucky to be able to assume this kind of work and stay productive.
Oh, very good. That's good to hear. I mean, how do you feel about all the video conferencing? Because what I noticed when working, especially in the beginning, I just had one video conference after the other without thinking of scheduling a break. So I was just like sitting here literally all day. And
It's like with normal meetings, you just can't have meetings all the day, or well, you can, but you will soon be very tired. So it's just good to assume the same practice as I've had under normal conditions. So I have days where I commute or when I communicate more, and there are days which I try to reserve for my own work. And in the home office, it's just easier to turn everything off and focus on your own stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, but definitely division of time helps. I even like a year ago or something, I started making a weekly schedule. It usually fails horribly in like 20% of cases, but the rest, the 80% is more or less like people try to abide to it and respect it. So by this, we kind of found some balance between communication and some work focus.
This is something I'm always super interested in, like how you balance your day, how you schedule your day. What do you have any productivity techniques you apply, your time management ideas? I mean, you already mentioned like this meeting less days, but I would love to hear more about that.
The biggest issue is that I just can't stop thinking about games when I am supposed to stop and be there for the family. So that's a big challenge to actually abandon being productive. Then I kind of like working in the morning when nobody's around, so I wake up really early, like
How?
5:30
Oh wow.
under
Okay.
normal circumstances. Right now we are hot seating with my wife in the home office, so she's working the early shifts. I'm starting at 8 a.m., so it's slightly different.
So
But
8
yeah,
8 a.m. is the late shift.
it's my late shift. Ideally, like if I'd be able to start at like 6:30 or 7, it's just much better. That's what I was used to. But with kids in the house, you have no calm moment, so it doesn't really matter anyway.
Okay, and I mean 5:30. And do you have any specific structure of your day? Like, I mean I heard like for me again, it's I found I can write better in the morning, but therefore I'm much
Same here.
better in programming in the evening. Do you have any? Did you
Uh,
find any patterns which work for you?
Actually, it's changing every, let's say, 6 months, depending on the nature of the project. But usually, it's some writing slash serious work in the morning, followed by, around 9 to 10 people are coming to the office. We have meetings scheduled, then some more meetings after lunch, and after uh, the first batch of afternoon meetings, I'm usually so exhausted I'm escaping home and resuming some work late in the evening, handling email, occasionally writing, playing games, which is supposed to be a big part of my time I spend developing. It's actually not development, but just
Yep.
playing stuff, either our stuff uh, or some other titles. Yeah, and also, there are days which are simply full of meetings because we need to schedule stuff or I shall be available. So, for example, Mondays I usually spend in Mishek office, say hi to Edita the tank very early in the morning, then have several coffees, be there with the guys, uh, travel back to Brno. Fridays they are usually calmer, so this is the day when everybody seems to be like worn off enough, allowing me to focus on my own things. So there's also this weekly dynamics to it as well.
Nice. Um, so you just mentioned like the like project management in a company. Do you have if you can talk about it? Do you have any specific project management techniques you use? I mean, in the past streams, we heard that many are using Scrum or similar, like Scrum similar techniques. Can you
Uh,
share what you're using or?
well, I'm not really good at it. So
That's a different story.
I'm self-organized, but that's a different thing. It depends on the team. For example, the team I'm working on most at the moment, we use a hybrid approach with planned milestones, backlog. We just pick priorities, and I'm trying not to touch the production too much. If I've learned something in the past years, it's that uh, I can be there in the beginning. I can be there to some degree during the prototyping. That's where my input is still valuable, and then the polishing phase. But I should not mingle with the production because it only distracts people, it confuses them, it makes them angry. So I'm trying to respect my colleagues and stay away from that. It often fails. I'm very sorry for it, but in the end, we are getting more organized. That, for example, a few years ago, uh, the Uyghur team, they are very advanced in this, and they enrolled onto an agile development. And I'm just witnessing this from the distance, only because we share the offices. Uh, but it seems to be very very impressive and very different from what we've known. But I feel that it's uh, it's certainly something we should try, and it's always like it's good to think about your work organization as not being set in stone. Like, oh, we did this 10 years ago; it's the best thing. No way. We have to evolve as persons, as teams, as the games we make, the products, but also the question of production. We definitely should seek the improvement, and I'm really glad that we now have people who are super into planning and management. Like, uh, for example, we have a girl on the team, and well, during her interview, she was like, "Yeah, I want to be an associate producer because I love spreadsheets. I even made a spreadsheet for this meeting with you."
Oh
So that
no.
was amazing. So, so it's just good that we have people who are able to,
Yeah.
bring some order into the usual chaos of the game development. There are
Yeah.
too many uncertainties, and having someone whose full-time job is to just cover this is very important, and I really appreciate it.
This is yeah, absolutely. Yeah, spreadsheets can be an important but evil part of our lives. So, you already mentioned very quickly like tools. I'm super also like super interested in what tools you're using, like both sides. So you personally, so you seem to be a very like again self-organized person. So you seem to have your things together, and I would love to hear what tools, techniques you are using, but also obviously from the company side, if there are any tools you can talk about which you're using, and a little bit about the workflow.
All right, so let me start with the company stuff. It's uh, obviously depending on the technology. So we have a bunch of tools which are internal, proprietary, and always in the development, which can be stressful. But it's giving us what we need, and we can also prioritize things. So definitely having our own engine and tools, it's demanding, but pays off. Then the bigger team is using Unreal technology, the Unreal tools, which has many perks. For example, you can hire people and easily, bring them into the development without too much schooling. Our internal tools we work on, they will hopefully be like following some industry standards. It's very important. Then a bunch of the usual things like Photoshop, Maya, Max, but all these art things. For the documentation and tracking, we use Atlassian. Particularly, Confluence has been my turf for the past few years, and people know, or some people know, that I'm really fond of making game worlds, terrains, and stuff, and I have some geoinformatics background, so I still have Arc GIS installed. Some of the guys are using QGIS. We even have some spatial analytics. So some of my colleagues would be very interesting guests for you, especially next time you would be doing analytics lecture, because we tried to do some spatial things, especially with Vigor, multiplayer game.
Okay.
I often just use this magic wand. I hope you see it.
What's that? I haven't seen something like this for years.
I tend to tease artists. Hey guys, you're making art. Do you have some?
This is already the very advanced version.
And this is my planning.
Okay. So really pen and paper.
And I realized that, for example, for writing or even for drawing some simple concepts, it's quite alright. I'm just rummaging through some of my. Nope, I don't have anything drawn here, but the point is that sometimes it's the best and quickest way to express yourself when you're just trying to illustrate something.
I mean, I have this giant notebook. Do you have, like, I just saw you had this tiny. Do you have other notebooks, specific notebooks?
I'm actually using the notepad I obtained during the last gamedev DayZ crowds. The technical university ones. They are really nice because they have square grid.
This one.
and I like this.
Very good.
That's the one. That's the one.
I have plenty. There will be plenty for you for the next visit in Graz.
Like probably except of GIS, there's nothing really special. Perhaps I should have mentioned things like various word editing or word generating softwares, or Houdini, for example. Which is something we have pioneered in the past few years, and we already have the guys gradually being able to utilize more and more of it. Like especially for the automatic filling of our big worlds, it's a very good start. But we we are definitely thinking bigger about the use of such powerful tools.
Yeah, I mean, you're known for like this huge environment, and yeah, that's very, very interesting. Since we're already tackling a little bit this topic about, I mean, your creations and your background. I mean, would you mind that? I mean, I know that there's plenty of stuff which people can Google online about your your experience coming from an entirely different background. And I find this really interesting. Again, you don't have a like this original game design background, and I would love to hear a little bit about your studies and how you found yourself in the game development industry, because in the last talk it was Josh Sawyer, who is coming from history. And again, I know we had this at the last Game Dev days, but I would love to talk a little bit about this because I find this super interesting and inspiring.
I would say that I became game developer because I was very lazy student.
Don't say this. Not.
But you know, when it came to studies, I originally wanted to study languages, journalism, stuff like that. But I really sucked at exams, admission exams. So I had opportunity to join the Faculty of Environmental Sciences in my hometown in Ústí nad Labem. It's in North Bohemia, so the region which is or was heavily polluted, and there were many environmental issues. So kind of it was natural such a faculty appeared there in late 1990s. And there I found out that environmental sciences have many layers, not just the natural sciences, mathematics, physics, chemistry, and stuff, but also this level of culture and society. And but I was always on the natural sciences side, and and also I was always fascinated by maps. As a kid, I was hiking with my parents. I like hiking, sporting outside, stuff like that. So naturally, it all led to trying to do something more with the computers. I was also playing a lot of computer games at the time. So suddenly, geoinformatics. It was a very interesting topic for me, and I felt like it's a natural thing, and I liked it. On top of it, I was doing my diploma thesis on air pollution in North Bohemia, and my approach to it was largely cartographic. And when we were in some climatology course in the mountains in the east of Moravia, my friends told me about just recently released Czech game Operation Flashpoint. I was like, interesting, nice. Let's check it out when we get back. Those university networks and stuff. So I eventually bought the game a few years later. And in the meantime, I was already part of the community, and I was really fascinated by the way I can, contribute to it. I can change it, I can modify it, and soon I started to be interested in terrains. So I made a couple of small terrains. Then we started something bigger in the desert setting, and we caught attention of the people from Bohemia Interactive Australia. It was David Legaty, then the director, who contacted us. I was part of the Czechoslovak People's Army modification. So we were basically putting together those pajama-like soldiers and Cold War era equipment, and also we we were making the desert terrain, some fictional operation 1990s, and we took a lot of inspiration in environment of Iraq. And David was like, "This is really cool. Would you like to do some work for us?" So we contributed to Terrain Pack 3 for VBS1. And as part of it, we delivered the city of As Samava, city in the central Iraq, during which development for Operation Flashpoint. So it looked pretty dated when we were making it already. It's a few years after Flashpoint was released in like 2005. And it was interesting, and it was interesting enough for Marek Španěl, the CEO and co-founder of Bohemia Interactive, to ask around. My friend from our modification team was already working for Bohemia Interactive, so he arranged meeting. At that time, I was already in Brno studying forestry ecology, doing my PhD, which didn't really go well because I was largely frustrated because I was, mostly doing the field work, also for the others, for little money, and I simply wasn't the guy made for science, at least that type of science which was done there. So when I was offered to join Bohemia Interactive, I was like, yeah, let's do it. It will be cool. Marek kept motivating me by sending me screenshots of the new development, including I put together some
That's smart.
data of the landscape close to my hometown for some demos, and he was sending me back some virtual landscapes already covered with the orthophotos.
Oh.
So it looked very lifelike to 2005, 2006 standards. So yeah, on May 1st, 2006, I arrived to Mnišek Podbrdy, to our forest office, and it's been already 14 years.
Wow.
And in those 14 years, we've been through several highs and lows. We've developed some games, but it's largely well-known story. Yeah, and what I really valued from the very start was this different approach to making games. Marek and his brother Ondřej, at the time lead programmer of the company, they had this ethos or morale, not just let's make money, but let's make something significant. Let's make something which makes sense. Let's make stuff with impact. And even years later, some of the rules introduced by them, partly by accident, caught attention of the International Committee of the Red Cross and were praised by them. So yeah, I'm just a dwarf standing on the shoulders of giants, and nevertheless, it's a very cool feeling.
Yeah, this is very, very inspirational. Thanks for sharing that. I always find it super interesting if someone finds such an interesting way to then such a perfect position or interesting. Yeah.
It definitely gives you a very fresh perspective on making games. So what Josh Sawyer has been doing, I believe that it's thanks to his background. He's doing such cool things, and I believe that my background helps me in creating more interesting stuff compared to if I would be, just a career game developer.
Yeah.
But obviously, you need career game developers. It's obvious that people who are well trained, who understand the trade, who understand the things you are lecturing, they're a very important part of the teams. It's not like, hey, everybody come from some strange places and make games. Many people, many teams would probably fail. It's just good to keep the variety. Have some people with some strange backgrounds, have some people who know what they are doing, have producers, have skilled artists who
I,
are
I like
professional
how
enough
you
to.
name them after after that. Yeah. No, absolutely. And what I always like to try to tell people, like, even though if you're very specialized, you can still try to get inspirations from the outside. Like if you have already like this specialized computer science degree, for instance, I don't need to read every day another computer science related book. So sometimes it might be helpful instead to read a history or an art book. And
True.
yeah, that's speaking of inspiration. This is also something which I find really interesting when talking to you. You are well read. You seem to do a lot of things outside also of the games industry. Where would you think, or what would you say when I ask you where would you draw your inspiration from, or what would you do to get inspired, or
I would say that above all, it's a passion to make something happen. Like
mm-hmm.
if you have idea, if you have vision, if it's healthy, if it's firm, or if you can discuss it in a healthy manner, then it's it's one of the prerequisites. Yeah, make what you want, make it for yourself.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Of course, inspiration. Like there's inspiration and there's education.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, it's thanks to my high school history teacher that I can read history books and I'm like critically examining them, and it's enriching some background info of our worlds. One of the examples.
Yeah.
Then it's probably a very personal thing. So for me, I'm trying to pick up like everything which surrounds me. Like we are very happy to live among many cultural artifacts. We are surrounded by books, movies,
Mm-hmm.
music, like uh, so many things you can absorb. Uh, so my advice would be choose well,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely it's good not to focus on a single thing, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, focus on like enriching your field of view. So I just grabbed something from my nightstand. So this is the book which is must have for
Oh,
everybody making
can you
making.
show it again?
Yeah, it's architectural approach
Architectural
to level
approach to
design
level
by Chris
design.
Totten.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, new edition was released. Yarekolat, because you also get inspiration from people.
Mm-hmm.
It can be someone like totally fresh, new, but it can be seasoned veteran. In this case, a seasoned veteran told me, "Read this book, mate." So
Creativity,
I see
overcoming
it.
the unseen
it
forces
it's
that stand in the way
it,
of true
it
inspiration. Okay.
it's written by one of the co-founders of Pixar,
Ah,
Ed Catmull.
okay.
You probably know his spline.
Yeah.
Uh, one of my younger colleagues, but the one with background in history and Czech language, presented me with Revenge of Geography.
Okay.
I also keep returning to this book. It is a similar status as, for example, the History of 20th Century by Paul Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Then one of the few magazines I'm buying is this funny Czech local geography slash visit this place
How do you not
magazine.
gestion, or how would you
Not
say?
not just
Not
to the
gestion.
road,
Okay. So what
and
is the magazine about?
it's basically pretty places. So like information about how it is in various places of our beautiful
Oh,
country.
that's nice. Yeah.
Uh,
And it's Czech specific, like
yeah,
only places in
and
Czech.
I'm often visiting such places,
Yeah.
and also a good way to spend time with the family. And last but not least,
Okay.
poetry.
Oh yeah. Okay.
This is May by our romantic poet Karel Hynek Mácha, coupled with some of his other works. Actually, Maha and other romantics, these guys were, you would say, they were super excited by the landscape and by the scenery. So yeah, then paintings, art. I'm not much of a movie person, but music is definitely my thing. And when I was, for example, when I was passing Cherners to the DayZ team, it came with a playlist. So,
Oh,
hey guys, this is what I was listening to when I was developing the terrain.
this is cool. Yeah, I've never
Uh,
heard that. This is really cool. Yeah.
with Livonia, I was fueled by Dmitro Bortnyansky's Orthodox Church music. Bortnyansky was, well, in Russia, he was very famous. Ukrainian Baroque composer, and his compositions are quite timeless.
It's
Right now,
classical music or what?
yep, yeah. Well, for me, it's classical music, jazz, sometimes some ambient stuff, occasionally metal, but yeah, I can swallow probably anything. Yeah, well, when I need to be super productive, I'm listening to 1980s pop.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, cool, cool. No, no, I didn't expect that. Actually makes a lot of sense, but I've never heard that. But obviously, if you just see an environment, it absolutely gives you a different idea than when you can already bring it in line or connect it to some specific atmosphere, which can be given through music. This is actually really good.
It helps.
Yeah. And you already mentioned that you play games, right? I mean, also after works. Is this also some sort of inspiration for you?
Definitely. I'm usually very frustrated when I see something I can't achieve momentarily. But it's a joke. Otherwise, I'm trying to play games with positive attitude to enjoy them the way they were meant to be played, not like nitpicking this and that. That's how it works. Because in the end, I believe it's not about technology. The best moments I've had in games were usually in well, either because my hardware was mediocre, so I didn't get much out of the visual, but some stories were great. Some moments were super memorable.
Okay.
Um, there are games which definitely left a huge trace. There are games which changed my life. There are our games which I like to play.
Yeah.
Other than that, from the last couple of months, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Definitely, in many ways, it's very different from what I would expect. But in many aspects, I really admire the way it's been executed. And when I played it, I felt very similar to when I returned to Arma 2. There's this passion. Practically oozing from the product. Like somebody obviously had huge fun making the game,
Yeah.
which is to be appreciated.
Yeah.
Then let's see what I have here on the background. I'm currently playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah. Very
Quite
good.
quite interesting. And Subnautica Below Zero, they just released a huge update, so I want to give it another go because I liked original Subnautica, both early access version of Below Zero, and I'm looking forward to spend perhaps next evening with this game totally submerged. Then I play some Amanita's games with kids, like Pilgrims. Kids are playing Islands. I'm just
This is lovely. Yeah. So you play the games with your kids already. That's
well,
great. Yeah.
only rarely. We are
Yeah.
mostly trying to keep them outside,
Yeah.
playing in analog way. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I keep returning to Arma 3. I just recently finished a campaign of a new creator DLC we prepare. I can't share more information, but it's always good to see that other people can do some nice things with your game, and it's actually playable, and you can enjoy it, and can, for moments, there are some really good moments during which you can just detach yourself from the role of supervisor who's there to provide feedback and just enjoy yourself. That's cool. That's a sign that the guys did well. Yeah, games, and of course I need to return to Death Stranding.
Oh yeah.
It's I believe it's this love or hate thing, but I admire the games which can
Yeah.
promote and work with unique style and unique gameplay. And while many things may say, it's nothing special or it's strange, I like strange games. I make strange games myself, well, I insist that others in our teams make strange games. Yeah,
Death
so Death
Stranding.
Stranding definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this a lot. I mean, I still did not finish it, but it's weird. It sometimes it feels it comes very close to hiking, like for my mental state. To be honest, like if I play this game and just have this huge backpack and then I just like walk through the hills or whatever, it feels a little bit like this hiking experience.
I'm
Weird.
I'm usually I'm usually pretty stressed by all those perils which are on the way, but yeah, the walking, hiking, weight mechanics, it's like very. I don't want to say simple, but just
No,
one
but
isolated
yeah.
things on which the game is based, and then it's up to you how you figure it out.
You mentioned something which I really need to get into, which was the word or the phrase, the life-changing games. Obviously, I would love to hear what were your life-changing games, besides of Arma or Operation
Uh,
Flashpoint, probably, but like for you, the most important games. I mean,
it
your
it was like Operation Flashpoint literally changed my life. Like
that's
let me
very.
to this industry. But then yeah, like I remember there were many games which simply like I have very fond memories of those, either because they brought some great moments by themselves, or I have associated with some people. Usually quite old games like Viet Cong, First Mafia,
Yeah, this was good. Yeah.
Hidden Endangers 2. I loved Steel Panthers. Like my friends introduced me to Steel Panthers when I was like 16 or 17, and I was like, wow, that's. And then when I was studying at the university, I was playing this or Close Combat when I want to fend off the stress, because I spend a lot of time studying when I finally figure out that I want to finish my university studies. But this was good during the exam period, like basically completely different focus. You just play the game, which is very demanding, and you can take your time. Yeah, Ishar 2, which I played with my two good friends, brothers. We only found some French copies somewhere, and one of the brothers was taking French lessons on the high school, so that was the only way to play. We had to have a French-speaking person and figure it out. So yeah, there are these quite old games, and of course Doom, the first original Doom, which in my case resulted in a couple of dozen levels, which I just recently shared with Rainer, our mutual friend. So hope he will share it with the others in the grass as well. It's like uh, when I played them right now to sort them out, I realized how many design mistakes I was doing, either intentionally or because I was so dumb. And I realized how important it is to have some empathy with the
Yeah.
players and assume their point of view when you're making something.
Yeah.
All right, many games, maybe too many games.
No, I think it's really, really important that you. I don't know. I often think about the games which I played in the past. I forgot many of those, but for a recent interview, I had to go through many of them again. And I don't know. I really appreciate every single one of them, and it makes me. I think I learned by playing every single, almost.
Yeah,
every.
I just recently stumbled on a very nice quote on Twitter. Like, if you like the time you waste, it's not wasted time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's probably us and the games.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, so, and also speaking about studying and learning, and from we covered this a little bit, but I would still love to talk a little bit about this concept about what would you recommend people to learn if they want to get into the games industry?
I think there are personal qualities and education. The education, perhaps, if somebody wants to work for a particular company or in a particular role,
Mm-hmm.
the curriculums are quite obvious from you know job advertisements.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, Regarding the qualities, I believe that it's important to have a lot of diligence in yourself and also I've mentioned I've mentioned empathy, so it's definitely good to train yourself to think in or put yourself into players' shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, figure out how what the player would really react to what you present to them,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously team players, people who are modest. I'm especially bad at this, and I realize that I should improve it. Yeah, that's perhaps another thing. Like, never never assume you're done game developer. Like, there are people in their 50s or 60s who are still making games. They've been in the business for decades, and they have a lot to say, but the best of them, they are still learning. They have
Mm-hmm.
to adapt because we are working in an environment which is constantly changing, changing trends, changing technologies, changed expectations. Like, I can understand that some people who like older games don't like some of the current games.
Mm-hmm.
They're not games at all, just a casual experience. That's not true. I kind of like that, or what the games became. Like, if if you are tired, old guy in your 40s, you still have a game to pick up and enjoy. If you are a young hotshot, you can enjoy that. If you are a
Mm-hmm.
mother with kids, you can pick it up. If if you are if you are a grandmother, you can, hey, there are games for you which are giving you some
Mm-hmm.
quality time. So yeah, it's good. We just have to be aware of this, that
Mm-hmm.
there's this multitude of possibilities, and of course motivation. Like, there are moments when I thought, like, oh my god, I quit. It's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
Either I was too tired, or things didn't work as expected, or everything was like uh, so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm very glad that I tried to keep working, and eventually just uh, we just made it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lot we can say about the qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we were talking about the backgrounds of people. So just as you said, even the career game devs should try to. I don't mean to sound rude, but get normal life or basically broaden their expertise. Even if you are doing some hobby or some sport, it
Yeah.
it can be a huge plus.
Yeah.
Uh, if you learn to enjoy some culture, movies, books, music, it just gives you some additional stimuli, and you can perhaps find something worth bringing into your game,
Yeah.
into your work.
Yeah. Do you want to share with us your personal hobbies? What would you do to free your mind or get other stimuli?
Well, obviously it's music,
Mm.
books, video games,
Mm.
other video games. Uh, I like hiking. I would
Mm-hmm.
like to return to running or do start doing some exercise, because especially this time it's very it's very taxing. Like, we cook well to maintain good spirits, but we don't have too much movement, so I'm regularly getting weight. Uh, in the winter, cross country skiing, and
Mm.
apparently I spend a lot of time with kids.
Mm.
So that's not a hobby; it's a duty, but a pleasant one.
Mm.
But yeah, and now and then I play some board game, or uh, if uh, if there's not pandemic all over the world, I usually gather with a friend over a game of Magic the Gathering
Oh yeah.
once or twice
Yeah.
a week. So that's probably it.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the things which are definitely missing at the moment. By the
But
way, maybe also if the chat has questions in the meantime, I I hope this is fine as well.
certainly.
So dear chat, also feel free to ask questions.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm just looking at my list because the hiking aspect is something I see so many of your pictures on Twitter always about like the hiking experience. This is also a point where you say, okay, this is where you can get some inspiration from, which you eventually put into your games later.
Indeed, like that's uh, that's a huge part of it. Like I even have my favorite landscapes I would like to see
Mm.
in our games one day, and but it's not just this like fetishism. Like I'll do it because I want to do it. I'll maybe make a pet project out of something, but I'm generally trying to think about a suitable game, suitable narrative, suitable gameplay, and there are landscapes which kind of speak to me. They're hey Ivan, let's do something. So
And it's
very
cool. A
it's very
little creepy, but really good.
uh, all right. I'm looking at the questions.
Yeah,
So
Jacques has a
uh,
question.
Shaq has a question. Uh, So it's have you seen Soviet Mobile Arma 3 Random Bullshit Tree? Is it the one?
No, I think the one below.
Oh, uh, it was- why are so awesome? Whom?
Um,
Okay,
so
so
maybe what could be also super interesting. You talked a little bit about productivity and motivation, and this is something, especially when working with a team, and especially in times like these, and when sometimes obviously everything goes well, everything is nice, and everything is great. But motivation is a key element to that, and if it once it's down, it can be very hard. Do you have any ways how to motivate yourself and motivate your team? Because I absolutely think this is a
we
huge
are
issue
yeah
in big
we are
teams.
very lucky that we see the progress.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very reassuring. Sometimes it's just good to talk to people, and these are my
Hi.
kids just scrolling, trying to say goodbye,
Hi.
and they just like hijacking my calls. Like, hello? Uh, so that's it. Where were we?
No,
uh,
we
yeah,
were so focused on the kids. They're lovely.
motivation. Obviously, uh, uh, in times like this, it's just good to stay as positive as possible. But all of us are just human beings, so sometimes we just need to let the steam off, or just express ourselves. But I hope that even this time, everybody is just abiding to some code of conduct, and uh, respects the others. Like as I said in the very beginning, we have good training in this, so people sort of know how to be candid, and how to talk on the distance. Sometimes it's worth to spend a lot of time with small talk, or just, hey, it would be cool if this and that. Or in some cases, I even told people, hey, call this guy, just have a chat,
Okay,
because
yeah.
it's apparent that some people are good in maintaining communication, some
Yeah.
are not, and those who are not, they are uh, better poked or inspired
Yeah.
to talk to the others, and it's also helpful to themselves.
Do you have like
Uh,
things like this post-work beer, after-work beer things, or some sort of social activities sometimes? And
well, if we haven't, and well, especially the younger people without families, they do a
yeah,
lot of this. I I have to be home
yeah, yeah.
precisely at 4 or precisely at 6 or something. So and I'm driving, so I don't take part in most of these activities. Yeah, but now and then it's just good to spend some time with the colleagues informally. Uh, I'm uh, I'm very sorry to say that for me these days are over. But uh, uh, now and then I appear in Nishek, especially during the springtime. There's this ongoing tradition of barbecue parties, or people just make a bonfire, and now and then I just appear there for the evening. In in the center of Brno, it's a bit more difficult because we don't have any meadow with a little pond and willow trees to have a bonfire at. So people usually go to some pub, and it's not too convenient for. But yeah, we hang out together.
There's a few interesting questions in the chat
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, indeed.
So one is, do you think it's 40? Is it too old to enter the games industry?
I actually know Mr. Buckfastwine. No, mate. Let's face it. I'm also in my 40s, and I feel actually very young and fresh. It's the way you live. It's the way you approach stuff, and you're young too. Don't worry about it. Like maybe you at your 40s you have just the right amount of experience to uh, write to jobs at bohemia.net and try your luck. Seriously, I don't think people are done after 40. So you may lack some technical skills, but if you really want to do something, mod a game, acquire some basic skills. But usually when we seek for people, we seek for people who are passionate about the work, who who can communicate, who are mature, who can handle things, including the problems. So definitely, it's not just about, hey, I'm just young and I'm experienced in a gazillion of art softwares or stuff like that. We definitely seek experience, and it can be safely said about many other studios. So definitely go ahead and pursue your dreams, please, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, this was a perfect answer. There's a different question just below that. Does Bohemia Interactive's production flow help prevent the crunch time other studios seem to suffer from? Like, crunch time is an interesting topic to talk about in the games industry, absolutely. So,
Since Arma 3, where we were very lucky to professionalize the development, because believe me, Arma 2 and Operation Arrowhead was just a big garage full of passionate people who did amazing job, lots of overtimes. Uh, uh, but then it was Joris Jan van Plant, J. Crow, Petr Kolář, these guys who some of you know from videos, sit reps, credits. These people put some order into things, and preventing crunch time was one of their specific goals. Uh, we are very lucky that we don't depend on any publisher, so we can actually plan with some extra time for each deadline or milestone. We only announce stuff which is safely there. That's a really good practice. So internally, there may be periods of increased activity, and certainly there were times when we were working harder, at least parts of the team, because there are parts of the team like myself who's better to be like kept somewhere locked away, not involved in the development anymore. And then there are those amazing people who are able to do and finish things, and these people can be very busy, especially the mastering department, localization, marketing. These guys usually enroll into the project during the production and especially in the end. And for them, it can still be quite taxing, but I don't remember any long-term crunching. We definitely never had working weekends since like 2008.
wow.
So we try to not to abuse people and not to just drain them. Obviously, many of my colleagues may come up with stories. Hey, it was just a year ago. I was working really hard to push something. Yeah, of course, this is happening. You can't avoid that. But there was nothing like, hey, everybody, see you on Sunday, 6 a.m. sharp, and we need to finish the game. No, this is not happening.
No. Very, very interesting. Do we have more questions in the chat? Do you still have time, because we're already like?
Yeah, certainly we are past the wave of kids, so things should get calmer now. It depends if people be willing to listen to my jabbering.
No, it's super inspiring. And
But there are some nice questions. Well, yes, Soviet Wombo, random bullshittery. Yeah, like now and then. Basically, those are funny videos with funny moments of people playing Arma online, and that's sometimes it's very funny to watch, especially on a gloomy day. You just hit some Soviet Wombles random bullshittery, and yeah, that's it. Recommend it. Love the hiking pictures in posts. I recreated one of them for Arma 3. That's true. Mr. Buckfastwine is an avid member of our community, who, for example, made our Mishek office from scratch in Arma 3.
Wow.
So definitely check out his Twitter. 40 is too old to enter the games industry. As I said, definitely not, because come on, I'm 40, and it really depends on the mindset. There are people who are 25 and they uh, exhausted, they are basically spent, burned out. Maybe they need a fresh restart, and maybe after 40, trying to do something like this can be very inspiring. I have a friend. He's a bit younger than me, Estonian air traffic controller, and you just one day you come to your office and you receive a letter. Hi, we are from Estonia. We love playing DayZ. We are traveling to the real life DayZ location, and because we like you, we would like to visit your office and bring you some Estonian booze.
Okay.
That's how a very nice friendship started. Not just because of the booze. We also went to Cherries together for 2 times, taking some drone footage, because this guy at some point in his life started building drones.
Okay.
Brought some friends, and we have some really nice footage. Perhaps not entirely top notch in today's standards, but still it captures a lot of soul of this chunk of terrain. And I hope that one day we'll publish more of the videos he recorded.
Okay.
And only recently, because he likes playing games, he was like, "Hey, I want to make games too." So he started programming. He learned C++. Come on, I I can't program in BASIC. Well, I can do some basic stuff. I even scripted something for Flashpoint, just very, very simple, dumb things. But come on, someone in his like 30s suddenly starts learning C++. Or one of my colleagues, uh, when we started working on Arma 1 in spring 2006, suddenly Marek Španěl, the CEO, appeared in my office, followed by a tall, let's say, brown skin, scary looking Italian guy. Buongiorno. Hey, Ivan, please meet Enrico. And he is interested in working for us. He's a degree in geography or mathematics or something, and he can be of some help with scripts because you're not into scripting. Well, Enrico now works as a game programmer. He came to our company when he was, I think, very late 30s or early 40s. He did some amazing scripting work for the tools for the environment. Then he moved to the Keen software house, the guys behind Space Engineers, and he kept programming. He kept improving. It was his mathematical background and analytic mind which helped him to, develop his programming skills. Because after all, the programming is just a tool. It was his brilliant mind. So if you have a brilliant mind in some area, like tools are not that important. So Enrico, if you hear this, thank you for all your great work. You are living great example of what people can do regardless of their age.
Yeah.
Kudos. So yeah.
Oh, this is very inspiring. Yeah, I mean, I can absolutely agree on that. And it's not like you don't come with no experience, because you have this life experience, the things you learned in the past does not count at all. And especially in a field like game development. Also, what you mentioned before, like where you draw your inspiration from, maybe coming from an entirely different background, can actually help to make the games more creative, more interesting, and yeah.
Exactly. It can pay off as well as the plain life experience. It's like when you're 20 after school, you're kind of scared of going anywhere, or you're overconfident.
Yeah.
I can remember myself being like a totally dumb, but I was like, yeah, the world belongs to me. now I'm much less confident and much more experienced, and it comes with the age. So definitely, if we have a candidate who's older, more experienced, everything is much easier because you don't need to explain that many things. If you have a fresh guy after school, it's always like even the minute details of the work law.
Yeah.
These things, if you have older adult, then it has definitely its qualities. But again, young people, they have this energy. They can overcome obstacles. They are very focused. They want to prove themselves. So it's just good to have both in the mix.
Having a diverse team from different backgrounds, from different, pretty much diverse.
Mm-hmm.
And also what you mentioned about modding, I find this still one of the best ways to get to know the industry, the art, the processes, to start modding big games.
You can train,
Yeah, absolutely.
and it's not just about the technical part. It's also about
That's,
presentation.
yeah.
I know many great people who are like on from the technical standpoint they are brilliant,
Yeah.
but then for example their visuals are problematic. Their PR/marketing skills can certainly use some development, but sometimes it's because these people are not this talkative kind of person. So they have great product, but they just don't have means to sell it. Yeah, but
I mean, speaking of that, like, so I usually tell people or students if they developed a game or a prototype, they should go network, go to conferences, do a little bit of PRs or whatever is in like in their reach. What would be tips from your side if people have, for instance, a prototype and want to get into the games industry and have a cool
well,
game or idea or something like that?
I'd be very cautious to share any wisdom because
Yeah.
really I don't have much of this kind of experience. I developed mods for a niche game at the time with a very specific audience. But then it was maybe the diligence, attention to detail, the will to return to feature some things and polish them, perfect them, and deliver something good. And I I was lucky that we made a good product. We made something which looked all right and was attractive and was kind of unique. Yeah, so maybe this is the recipe. Create something unique, bring in something fresh, and definitely do something you would like to play yourself. That's uh, at least you're sure that you will have one
You have one player.
happy customer yourself.
Yeah.
That's just better than zero.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's because it was just like discussed in the chat. So this is something I noticed. The Bohemia Interactive, the community. This is one of the loveliest communities I think I have seen in the game dev scene or player scene. Um, this is so, yeah. I got to got to know some of you guys,
Yeah,
and
sure.
they're
Lots of the guys follow you
fantastic.
on Twitter.
And this is such a lovely community. So how did you find all those great people? What do you do as a company to connect to community? But apparently all those
I,
things are work.
I I would say that
Oh, it's the tank
this
rides. The
just
chat just said it's the
yeah.
tank rides.
Also, we have history of games which are open for modification, and although the games themselves are not perfect. The tools and documentation we provide, we try to provide as much as possible and be of assistance, directly respond. And there are plenty of my colleagues doing a wonderful job, not just marketing people, not just PR stuff, but also the developers. Some of them come from the community, so they understand well if somebody wants to be really creative and suddenly there are some hindrances. If these creative people have a developer to ask, they usually appreciate all the information. And yeah, people from community usually they can, give it back. I may be too far from the community at the moment. I really don't check out forums anymore. Simply because my life changed and a lot of time in my life is now devoted to the family. But I really appreciate there are still people among my colleagues who are willing to help. I'm trying to push little things now and then, but those are just minor things. I mainly try to help the creator DLC teams, but that's something different. That's part of the job. But yeah, so yeah, we give people the opportunity to be creative, to together and do something together and join in multiplayer games, orchestrate something interesting, and then of course it's their personal qualities and the fact that we have very mature audience, people who naturally like to do stuff, to organize stuff. Plenty of soldiers, for example, so it's they are naturals in just getting into some organization and getting stuff done. So I believe that those guys, if they are reasonably supported, if we don't put too many obstacles between what they want to do and themselves, they are happy to have fun with the game, even in ways which are not entirely expected by us. There are huge communities. Fun thing is that they probably a bit don't like each other. There are milsim players, there are content creators, there are those live servers, there are very survival modes, king of the hill players. So there are many ways you can enjoy Arma. Those communities are maybe a bit separate, but yeah, it's just good to see all of them being creative in their way and being reasonably able to take part in the community activities.
Yeah, Pendu and the Bugfest Wine just mentioned also this creative freedom and this open framework you have, and that you can really work with Arma, be I guess part of the experience, and I think you're doing really great things there by being open and providing an open framework.
Of course, it comes with some limitations. Like if we offer a game which is open by nature, which is indeterministic, where AI can act on their own and is not too predictable, where you have a huge open world and some generic rules, then we'll probably suck in many qualities pursued by many of players. But then we do it on purpose. Not I don't mean on the all those bugs. Of course, we would love to make a perfect game, but then if the cost is that occasionally you see something wrong, but you don't limit players' freedom, then this is our kind of game. So that's what we wanna do in Arma, like give players their freedom and let them face the consequences. DayZ does the similar job. Islands, same. Islands was just mentioned by another member of our community who seemed to hijack your Twitch chat.
No, so this is like from my side a big shout out to all those lovely community, Arma community
Yeah,
people also
and
who are in the Twitch chat now. Like,
if
I'm a
if
huge
we
fan of your community.
thank you. Maybe you may want to talk to Karel Mořický, who just recently did interview on his community work and generally what we do for the community. And he's a more technical person, so he can explain also the technical part and some philosophy behind keeping things open. And definitely he can be very interesting interviewee. By the way, if I may also hijack this
Absolutely.
for a moment, but it's related to the community.
Absolutely.
I see my friend from Finland sending best regards over the chat. So Uncle Petri, hello and many thanks for regards. I know Petri from the days of Operation Flashpoint when I was still modifying the game myself, doing some textures for the Finnish Defense Forces mod. And he came with some advices and we started to talk, and we've never seen each other. But yep, will be almost 20 years. We exchange emails and been pen friends for such an amazing long
Wow.
time. And he's one of my best friends, like older brother. So that's really cool, and it's very nice of him to show up. All right, so thank you, and if depends if you have any more questions.
Just a very good recommendation from Blood Clot that Johanna should improve the Arma 3 AI a little. Thanks for this shout out.
Actually, we still hope to get your expertise onto the analytics part of
Yes.
the job, and
Yes.
In more favorable conditions, I would like to meet in person over some design question we have discussed in the past.
Yeah. Hiking meetings are appreciated.
Yeah, hiking meetings are definitely most recommended.
Thank you so much. So this was great. This was such a lovely evening now. Discussing all different things with you. Thanks to the chat for your all this interaction, for this lovely lovely questions and interactions with us. And that's it from my side. Maybe some last inspirational words from your side, no pressure, but that this was absolutely great.
I would just love to thank you for the invitation again. It was a huge pleasure. Very special greetings to the game dev scene in Graz. I, I just hope to see you really soon. You're a really fine bunch of people, and can't wait to meet you again. I would like to thank to all the community people who appeared to give me support or praise what we do. Obviously, our community can say a lot of bad stuff about our game or about ourselves, so I appreciate reading something positive. Thank you. I'll try to work hard to give you your entertainment and give you more fun time and quality time. And well, special greetings to Petri. And as a very last thing, I would like to mention that I'm able to realize everything I do only with help of the whole teams of very talented and hardworking people. So although I'm often just pain in the ass or trying to push things too hard and stuff, I every day I wake up and I live and do my work with most respect to my colleagues. Without them, neither Arma nor DayZ nor any other video game would be ever possible. So thank you.
This is just perfect. Thank you so much. Have a really great start into the new week. You
Thank you.
please follow Ivan also on Twitter. I just posted a link to the chat. Ivan Buchta. Oh, sorry, too late. But he's posting such incredible hiking pictures and really really cool content. So please maybe follow him, but don't tell him that I told you.
Like right now, when we just develop the technology, there's not much to show. But I really hope that the time will come and we will be able to show some game development stuff as well.
We really hope to see you soon in Graz, or are able to visit you in Czech quite soon. So yeah.
That would be cool. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Hey, have a great evening, everyone. Thanks everyone for joining the stream, and also to the Arma community for joining. Can we have a last round of virtual applause, please, in the chat for Ivan? And yeah, thank you so much. Goodbye. Good night, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
And good night. Bye bye.
Bye bye.